Okay. We're continuing in Maseches Chagiga, and we are on Daf Vav Amud Aleph, and there was a statement in the Gemara in the Mishnah of how much money you have to spend on the carbonot that you're bringing up to the Mikdash when the person does oil regal. So we have the way the Mefarshim want to understand it, that there was a Messiah that the Chacham said you have to spend 3 silver coins. Okay, and the question really is, and then the two korbanot that you have to bring at a minimum. You have to bring the olat re'iyah, the oil that you bring when you come up to Hashem, the oil that goes completely to Hashem, and then you have to bring the chagiga, shalmi chagiga, which is eaten part by the person and part goes to Hashem. We just to know, it says a ma'a kasef, right? So we're gonna call it a coin and 2 coins. But if you want to know, a ma'a is 1/6 of a dinar. Thus 2 silver ma'as equal to 1/3 of a dinar. The sages made a minimum value that you have to bring a 3 silver ma'ot coins. So exactly which one you use 2 and which one you use 1. That's the machloket that the Gemara is going to look at today. So Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Tanu Rabbanan, Beit Shammai Omrim, Hari'at Shetei Chesed V'Chiga Ma'a Kesed. The Re'iyah, the carbon Re'iyah, the oil that goes up complete to Hashem, you have to bring 2 silver ma'ot coins. V'Chagiga Ma'a Kesed. Whereas a Chagiga, the person partially eats, only 1 silver ma'a kesed. Why? Says Beit Shammai, Sharia, Shahariya, Ola Kula Legavoa. All of it's going up to Hashem, so it's more important. Masha'en came in Chagiga. By Chagiga, it's not going all up to Hashem, so it's not as important. Therefore, spend more money on the more important. The Od Matzinu Ba'atzeret, when it comes to Shavuot, we see by the Musafim, Sheriba Be'hen Katub Ba'olot, Yoter Mi B'Shalamim. It comes out by the holiday of Shavuot that we bring 10 olot and only 2 shlamim. So you see, there's more importance to the ola. Therefore, spend the 2 coins on the ola. Uvet Hillel Omrim, and Bet Hillel says, Hareiyah ma'a kesef, 1 ma'a coin. Chagiga shetei kesef. Chagiga, the one that person eats and parsha Hashem, parsha to him, they need two coins, 2 silver ma'ot. Why? Shehagiga yeshna lifnei adibur, because the chagiga was a carbon that was brought before Har Sinai. Okay, they were brought before Har Sinai. Therefore, they have some sort of significance. They're more greater. Masha en came bere'iyah, but the ola re'iyah did not happen before Har Sinai. And so we find by the Nisim, Sheribaba and Akatu Bishlamim Yoteri Ba'alot with the Nisim, the princes of all the tribes, they brought up the Korbanot, they brought more Shlamim than they brought of Olot. Turns out that 204 Shlamim and 36 Olot, that's a lot more. So therefore, Beit Hillel says, spend the more money on the Chagiga. Oved Hillel, my time alone, Beit Shammai. Why did Beit Hillel not say like Beit Shammai? Why did Beit Hillel not say like Beit Shammai? By the way, this Gemara we saw last week, but just to fill up the whole topic in one shot. Oved Hillel, my time alone, Beit Shammai. Why did Beit Hillel not say like Beit Shammai? Why did Beit Hillel say spend 2 coins on the Chagiga, the meat that's partially to Hashem and partially the person eats, and not like Beit Shammai who says spend 2 coins on the Ola that goes up completely to Hashem? Right? The Ka'amart. So says Beit Hillel. The Ka'amart re'i adifa the Olakula Gavoa. You said Beit Shammai. The reason why I should spend 2 coins on the Ola is because it goes up to Hashem. Adarab, on the contrary, Chagiga adifa. The Chagiga is more important to spend more money on. Why? The Itba Shetei Achilot. Because the Olat re'iyah, you can get a 1 coin animal for it because it's enough to go up to Hashem. But here in the Chagiga, you need to give half to Hashem, half to the person. You need to have more meat. Therefore, it should be spent with 2 coins, 2 silver coins, because you have 2 eatings on it. One for the mizbeach and one for the person. And now, Ben Shammai said, learn from the Chag HaShavuot, where we bring 10 olot and 2 shlamim, so olot are more important. No, don't do that. Ditanin korban yachid mi korban yachid. Ve'en danin korban yachid mi korban tzibur. You're talking about a person himself having an obligation to bring a korban. Learn it from another person who has an obligation to bring a korban, and not from the korban tzibur, the communal offering. The Shavuot offerings are a communal offering. It's everybody's offering together. 10 olot, fine. But the Nisi'im were individuals. Therefore, learn from individuals for an individual and not for individuals from a group. Therefore, Bet Hillel did not learn like Bet Shammai. Now, the other way around. Bet Shammai, my time alone, Bet Hillel. Why didn't Bet Shammai learn like Bet Hillel? Why did Bet Shammai say spend 2 coins on the Ola that's going up entirely to Hashem and only 1 coin on the Chagiga? Why didn't he say like Bet Hillel to spend 2 coins on the Chagiga? The Ka'amad Chagiga, you, Bet Hillel, he says, you said the reason why Chagiga is more important because it was brought before Matan Torah. The truth is, Olat Re'iyah was also brought before Har Sinai, before the commandments on Har Sinai. And when you said learn it from the Nisi'im, you can. We're going to learn something that's for all generations from something that's for all generations, and we're not going to learn something from a one-time event, right? You're talking about Korban Chagiga, Korban Re'iyah. It's brought every year. It's brought every regal. And Korban Shavuot is brought every year. Whereas the Nisi'im was a one-time event. So don't learn from the Nisi'im. Okay. So just to review outside, and this we saw the previous year, but just to review outside what we have. So we have here a Machloket Bet Shammai Bet Hillel. Bet Shammai says, we know Chum tells us you have to spend 3 silver coins between the Ola Re'iyah and the Korban Chagiga. 2 korbanot that you must bring when you come up to the Mikdash. The question is, where do you spend the 2 coins? And it's not 1.5 each. One is 2, one is 1. So Bet Shammai says, spend the 2 on the Ola. Spend the 2 on the korban that goes completely to Hashem. It's more important. We show it's more important. The fact that it's born on Shavuot more. And Bet Hillel says, no, the other way around. The korban Ola, you bring only 1 coin. It's a smaller animal. Whereas Korban Chagiga has to be a bigger animal. Why? Because Korban Chagiga was given before Har Sinai. It's a very important korban. It's already before the time Har Sinai Korban Chagiga was brought. And the Nisi'im brought more shlamim, which is a type of Chagiga. A Chagiga is a type of shlamim. So it brought more shlamim than they brought olot. So, and they both don't want to learn like each other for other reasons. And that's where we're holding right now. Okay. So now the Gemara on 6a3, the Gemara says, Ubet Hillel, my shena Chagiga, the Yeshna lefnei dibur. Bet Hillel, why are you saying that the Shlamei Chagiga, they were brought before Matan Torah? Because it says in Mishpatim, Zevachim Shlamim. They brought Zevachim Shlamim before Matan Torah. So they brought Zevachim and Shlamim. Is what's it called? Chagiga. Re'iyah Nami. The truth is, Olat Re'iyah was also brought. Why? Achtiv ve'alu olot. So let's take a look at the full pasuk. Torah Shalom Bet. V'ishlach et na'arei b'nei Yisrael. V'ya'alu olot. They brought up olot. V'yizachu zevachim shalem parim. And then they brought chagigas also. So it says they brought up olot. Achtiv ve'alu olot. So they bring olot. So why are you saying Bet Hillel that there was no olot beforehand? Oh, Sabre Bet Hillel. Ola shikiru Yisrael b'midbar. Olat tamid havai. It wasn't the olat re'iyah, a person's personal obligation to bring an ola when he comes to the regal. It was olat tamid. It was the daily olat. Olat tamid. Like we say every day, the tamid offering. You can't learn from there. It's an everyday thing. It's a communal thing. You cannot learn it for other stuff. So therefore, even though it says olot, it's not olat re'iyah, rather it's olat tamid. Ubet Shammai savrei, no. Who said it's olat tamid? Olah shiklu yisrael b'midbar. When it says in the pasuk ve'alu olot, they brought olot. Olat re'iyah havai. It was the olah of re'iyah. They were bringing it up because they're about to see Hashem. Ve'yichezu et ha'elohim, right? And they gaze at Hashem, so they're going to bring a korban olat re'iyah. So that's what Bet Shammai says. Okay, Abaya is going to come and say this is actually not just Bet Shammai Bet Hillel, but there are more rabbis involved in this machloket. Amar Abaya, Bet Shammai, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Ishmael, Kulahu Sivri Elahu. Bet Shammai, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Ishmael, all in opinion. Olah Shikru Yisrael Midbar. The Olah in the pasuk that it says Ve'elu Olot. Olat Re'iyah. It was the Olah of Re'iyah, of coming up to the Mikdash. The Olah that you specially bring. Ubet Hulel, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yosef Aglili, Kulu Sevir Alahu, Olah Shiklu Yisrael Midbar, Olat Tamid Havai. When that pasuk says Ve'elu Olot, it was not Olat Re'iyah, but rather it was Olat Tamid. Now, Bet Shammai Hadamarat. Bet Shammai we already saw. We saw his opinion. Why he says what he says. Rabbi Ishmael. What about Rabbi Ishmael? Where do we have his opinion? The Tani Ishmael Loimer. Kilalot Nemanu B'Sinai. He holds that the general principle of mitzvot, of some mitzvot were given also all no detail on Har Sinai, but some mitzvot were only given in generality. Were given on Har Sinai. And the more specifics of the mitzvah were given in the Ohel Moed when Hashem called Moshe Rabbeinu into the Ohel Moed once the Mishkan was built. And okay, Rabbi Akiva says, Akiva says, no, everything was given in Har Sinai, both the general and the detailed principles. Everything was given in Har Sinai. And they were taught again in the Ohel Moed, and towards the end of the 40th year in Sefer Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu teaches it all again in the plains of Moab, Moab. Now, says Rabbi Ishmael, Olam shikru yisrael midbar. Ola tamid havai. Mi ikamidi demikar lo by hefshet v'netuach. Uvasov by hefshet v'netuach. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Ishmael has to hold like this. Rabbi Ishmael says, he cannot tell me when they said vayalu olot that it means they brought olat re'iyah, and that they what does he hold? That they brought olat re'iyah. Right? You cannot say they brought olat tamid. Why not? So you cannot say they brought olat tamid. Olat tamid requires skinning and dismemberment, and there's a whole halachot of how you have to bring the olat tamid. And it cannot be that they brought olat tamid because olat tamid halachot didn't come until Sefer Vayikra. And he holds that the details of Olat Tamid were not given in Har Sinai, rather they were given in the Ohel Moed. And as such, they couldn't bring Olat Tamid. So if it says Olot, it must be Olat Re'iyah. Wait, some ask. Hold on, Olat Re'iyah also requires skinning and dismemberment. Yeah, that is true. But it says Olat Nidava. They weren't commanded to bring this Olat Re'iyah. They were bringing it as a donation. And as such, you're allowed to bring it even if it's not dismembered and not skinned. So that's why the Bishmael will hold, because it cannot be Olat Tamid. Halachot Olat Tamid were not given yet, so it cannot be Olat Tamid. Therefore, it was Olat Re'iyah. Okay, Rabbi Elazar. What did Rabbi Elazar? Where does he hold that it was? How does he hold that it was Olat Re'iyah and not Olat Tamid? The Tanya. It says Olat Tamid was Har Sinai. The all of the Tamid that was offered at Har Sinai. 1 second. You just told me it wasn't Har Sinai. Rabbi Elazar Omer Maaseh Nemu B'Sinai. The procedures were taught at Sinai. Look at it. When it says before Har Sinai, it doesn't mean it was brought there. Rather, it was taught there. So the Yazar was also the opinion that it was Olat Re'iyah and not the Olat Tamid. Rabbi Kiva Omer. Rabbi Kiva says no. Once on Har Sinai they learned the halachot of the Olat Tamid, and according to Rabbi Kiva, they learned everything, all the details of halakha. They always did korban tamid. Elmani mekayem. What I do with the pasuk that says zevachim umincha higashtem lima midbar. I am a Shana Israel. Hashem asked the Jewish people, "Did you really bring me korbanot all 40 years?" According to Rabbi they did. They brought korban tamid. So the Gemara answers, "Shit of shalevi shlo avdu avodah zarah. Heni kirvota." Truth is, not all of Israel did. After the sin of the Chet Egel, they weren't able to bring these things. But Shevet Levi, who wasn't involved, they were able to bring these things. So Hashem and Amos, the Navi Amos, asked the Jewish people, did you bring korbanos all the time? meaning the Jew as Klal Yisrael, not just the Levium, bring karbanos all the time. Okay, so we have our three opinions of Bet Shammai. We have a Bishmael, the Bielazar. They all say when it says Ve'alu Olot, that they brought up a lot before the Matan Torah, that was talking about the Olat Re'iyah. But Bet Hillel, Rabbi Akiva and Yosaglili, they hold that it was what Olat Tamid. So Bet Hillel, we saw already. He said when the pasuk said Vayalu Olot, it means the Olat Tamid. Okay. Rabbi Akiva, Hanami Damran. Rabbi Akiva also. He said we got all the halachot in Har Sinai, and so when he made the Tamid at the Har Sinai, it was done Olat Tamid. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, or Yossi Aglili, Tanya, Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer, Shalosh mitzvot nitzuisa ba'alot tam l'regel. There are three mitzvot that a person has when he gets to be oil regel. What are these three mitzvot? Re'iyah, Chagiga, ve'simcha. There's a korban re'iyah, there's a korban Chagiga, and there's a korban simcha. Yesh bari'ah she'em b'shtehen. You have in the korban re'iyah something that's not on the other two korbanot. But yesh b'chagiga she'em b'shtehen. And you have a korban Chagiga was also not in the other two. The yesh b'simcha she'em b'shtehen. Also that's not in the other two. All right, let's explain. Yesh bari'ah she'em b'shtehen. You have in the oilas re'iyah, the korban re'iyah that you bring up that's not in the other two. Shahari'ah Ola kula legavoa. Masha'en kemishtehen. The Ola goes completely up to Hashem. The other two do not. Yesh b'chagiga masha'en mishtehen. You have b'chagiga something that's not in the other two. Why? Chagiga yashna lifnei adibur masha'en mishtehen. Because Chagiga was given already before Matan Torah, which is not in the other two. Other two were given after Matan Torah. So what do you see? Before Matan Torah there was Chagiga. Okay. So it's really like what's his name? What like Bet Hillel? That the only thing they brought was a lot of tamid and not olat riyah, because he says only the Chagiga was brought beforehand. Masha'em mishtehen. The sim yesh b'simcha masha'em mishtehen. Sha'asimcha no hegel b'anashim u'nashim. Simcha, the woman is involved as well. Masha'em mishtehen, whereas the woman is not really involved in the olat re'iyah and in the olat and in the korban chagiga. Okay, so you have here Rabbi Yossi Aglili who said they only brought up zvachim. So when the pasuk says ve'elu olot, it must be it was olat tamid and not olat re'iyah. Okay, going back to the Bishmael. The Bishmael said it says olat and they must be olat. What's it called? Olat. It must be Olat Re'iyah. Why? Cannot be Olat Tamid because Olat Tamid, the halachot weren't given yet. They were given afterwards, so there couldn't be Olat Tamid. The Gemara wants to challenge us now. The Bishmael, my Tama, Kamo Kama Talavek Bet Shammai. Why you say it's like Bet Shammai? Isak Edatak Olat Shekru Yisrael Midbar. Olat Tamid Havai, Meika Midi, the Mikara Lo Bay Hashem Betuach, or Sof Bay Hashem Betuach. The halachot weren't given yet of how to do it. Later on, the halachot are going to be given. You have to dismember, you have to skin. So, how could it be considered Olat Tamid beforehand? He says it was Olat Tamid. And the interesting thing enough, since the halacha of dismembering and skinning weren't given, so therefore it was Olat Tamid without skinning and dismembering, because that's the way the halacha was at that time. But in the end, now we learned you need skinning and dismembering. The Tanya Yosef really omer. It did not require at that time skinning and dismemberment. Only once. So once they got to Sefer Vayikra, Moshe Rabbeinu was called to the Ol Moed, and now the halachot of the Mikdash was taught. Now it requires skinning and dismembering. Prior to that, it did not. Samemi Khan, be Ishmael. Take away from here, Rabbi Ishmael from the side of Bet Shammai. I only love Bet Shammai and Rabbi Elazar. And Rabbi Ishmael is off that list, right? Okay. That is that Gemara. Now, the Pasuk says, Vayishlach et na'arei b'nei Yisrael, Vayalu olot, Vayishbachu zevachim, shalamim, laHashem, parim. They brought up shlamim that were parim. How do you understand this pasuk? What were the olot? It doesn't say what type of animals used for olot. So do we say that it's the same animal as at the end where we say parim, there were bulls that were used for the shlamim? That's also for the olot. So Bayit of Chizda, Hai Kira Hechi Ketiv. Does it say Vishlach and the Bnei Israel Vayilu Olot? They brought Olot, and that means they brought sheep and lambs for Olot. V'yizuchu zevachim shlamim laHashem parim. And then when it says parim, that's only for the shlamim. Or dilma idi parim havu. Or perhaps both of them, both the Olot and the shlamim were both bulls. How do you understand when it says the word bull in the pasuk parim? Is it for the whole pasuk? Or is it only for the last part? Okay. So first of all, the question is, who cares? What's the difference? So ma'azutra amar lepisuk te'amim, to know how to make the ta'amim. Why? Because in the Torah, the ta'amim, the cantillation, the trup, tells you how to break up the pasuk. So a lot of times you have in the pasuk what's called ma'arich tacha atnah, right? It's like a little wishbone on the bottom, and that the word that tells you to pause in that sentence. It's like a semi-sentence in the sentence, and that would mean to stop, which would mean okay, bring olot, stop over there. That's kibasim, that's lamb, and then continue the next part of the pasuk. They brought parim for that. So I need to know for which ta'amim to use. Question on that is, we say the ta'amim that we have is a misorah. It was a tradition passed down. So how could you have a question on it? So they want to say because of the history of the Jewish people, with all the persecution from time to time, things were forgotten, and then they had to reestablish the Messiah. The question is, was it Purim or was it something else? So, and Rav Acha, the Rav Omar, another reason why, if someone says, Harei alai oila ka oila shikuri midbar, I'm going to bring an oila like the one they brought before Har Sinai. Which one is it? Was it parim havu or kivasim havu? Was it parim bulls or was it lamb? Gemara ends off with a teku. What about Archu Mosim? Archu Mosim does use a atnach. It uses a semi-pause in the middle of the pasuk, which would indicate, as Marzucha says, it would indicate that the olot were of lambs, whereas the shlamim were of parim. And that would make sense according to the version that we have in our Chumashim, that there is the atnach at that word. Okay, one more shtickle Gemara over here, Rabotai. Tanu Tanan Hatam. We learned in the Mishnah elsewhere. El divarim she'elam shiur. These are the things that have no shiur, right? We say it every morning. Ha-pe'ah, v'habikurim, v'hadayon, u'gmul hasadim, v'tamut Torah. Okay, let's explain a little bit here what it means no shiur. No shiur means that the Torah doesn't say a minimum or a maximum of how much this mitzvah has to be done. For example, the pe'ah, the corner of the field. There is no statement in the Torah how much or how minimum or maximum. Now the Chachamim came and said 1/60th minimum, but a person can technically from the Oraita level with one little stalk be yotzeh pe'ah, right? Or he can do this whole field pe'ah. But at a minimum, now the Chacham said 1/60th. And actually, bikurim, the first fruits of the 7 species of Eretz Yisrael, you would bring them up. How much? There is no minimum. There's no maximum. Someone said 1/60th. Someone put a minimum over there. Okay. Hare ayon. Rayon can mean coming up to the Mikdash. Okay? No minimum, no maximum. We're going to see what this means. Can it mean the Olat Re'iyah, or does it mean just showing up? We're going to see it's going to be a machloket and everything, but Rayon for now. O Gimel Hasadim, doing acts of kindness, whether with words, whether with help. You can no minimum, no maximum. When it comes to money, there is a maximum. They don't want us to use more than a chomish, more than 20% of our assets to help someone else out, because then we might get into trouble too. So it's talking about other types of kindness. Hey, Talmud Torah and learning Torah. Really, there's no minimum to learning Torah. Perhaps there is a minimum to learning Torah. Okay. Anyway, this is what we have. Amar Yohanan. Kisfurin anu lomar. We wanted to say, harayon en lo shir lomala. There is no maximum shir of a yesh lo shir lomata, but it has a minimum shir. The master of Rabbi taught. The great student of Yudah Hanasi, he came and he taught. From the Torah, from a biblical standpoint, there is no amount of money you have to spend on the korbanot. Not a minimum, not a maximum. Amim omrim, ma kesef, and shte kesef. Ma kesef, the re'iyah, ma kesef. The re'iyah is 1 silver coin. The Chagiga, shte kesef, is 2 ma'od of silver. So, comes out that we paskin like Bet Hillel, because Rav Oshia says the halacha like Bet Hillel. Ri'ah me'ah kesef, 1 coin for the Ri'ah, 2 coins for the Hagiga. Okay, now what does it mean? Ma herayon. There's no minimum for herayon. What does it mean herayon? It means coming and bringing your face to the Migdash. There's no minimum, no maximum. No. It means coming with a korban. Okay, not just showing up. Okay, what's the machloket? If it's the first day, the first time you're coming to the Mikdash on a holiday, that you can't just show up. You have to show up with a korban. Okay, everybody agrees that. First day or the first time coming to the Mikdash on a holiday, he has to come with the korban. Where they arguing, he already came first time, and now he's coming again. What's the story then? Do we say when everyone comes and brings an offering? No, where's more? If he comes and he brings an offering, we bring it, we accept it. The guy brings the korban, we take it from him. He comes and he doesn't come with the korban. Yochanan says, no problem. The guy shows up. That's the mitzvah. He doesn't have to come with the korban. No. You can't just show up empty-handed. You have to bring a korban. When everyone comes to the place, he has to bring an offering. It's very lakish Rabbi Yochanan. How can you say that? You can show up without a korban if you're ready to put the korban once. It's at the pasuk. Don't come empty-handed. Amalei said Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, that pasuk is bi'ikar haregel. That's the first time you show up in the Mikdash. That's what it means. Don't come up empty. You should not come empty-handed. We know you have to bring zvachim. Maybe I can bring birds and meal offerings. No, it's a logical argument. We know that the hedyot, the regular guy, has to eat some hagiga, some meat. And it's in the korban for Hashem. Just like the korban for the regular person is with animals. So too, the korban for Hashem also should be with animals. What type of zvachim? Olot, all offerings. Maybe only shlamim. Medinu. Just like the meat animal was something for the person, it's something that he can eat from, right? It has to be something that Hashem would accept. You cannot have a beautiful meal every day of the holiday and you're just giving one korban the first day. No, it doesn't make sense. If Hashem's table also has to be full. Amalei and Lakish, all very nice hidushim that you're making. However, that's only the first time you come. After that, you don't need to come anymore with a korban. Says Rabbi Yochanan. 8th Reish Lakish now challenges Rabbi Yochanan from the following price. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer. Shalosh Gol Mishana Nitzlav Yisrael Baregel. 3 times you have to come up on the regel. The Chag Matzah, the Chag Shul, the Chag Sukkot. The Ein there in Chatzon, you shouldn't come halfway. Because never calls the Chudacha. Everyone has to show up. The Ein there in Rekanim, and you don't show up empty-handed. Mishum Shnemar. The Loyer Panay Rekam. Amalei, Yochanan said again, it's the same din. The Ikar Haregel. That's all talking about the first time of the holiday. Etivei Yochanan Shakish. Now Yochanan is challenging Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish said you have to show up with something. It says here, Ma'ani Bechinam, Af Atem Bechinam. Says Rabbi Yochanan. Haki say Reish Lakish to be covered every time. When we come to see Hashem, right? We're going to Hashem's presence. Hashem doesn't give us anything, right? Hashem is you're giving the carbon. Hashem not giving you a carbon. So too, you're Therefore, we also don't have to give a carbon when we are seeing Hashem. So now they're going to now change the machloket. Ela, machloket is as follows: whenever a person comes to the Mikdash and does not bring an offering with him, everyone agrees he can come and leave. No problem. You don't show up anything, no problem. Keep pligi. He came and he brought something after the first day. Rabbi Yochanan, who didn't la shiur, the ain't la shiur. The carbon yesh la shiur. Rabbi Yochanan says, when the Mishnah says that there's no shear, that means showing up. That's no shear. You can come many times you want. But for a carbon, there is a shear, only one time. Only one olat riyah. And that's going to be considered bal tosif. You're adding on. Reish Lakish Amar, no. Riyad pani korban nami ein la shear. Coming every time with the korban is also no shear. Okay? So they changed the machloket now. Well, halacha say, what's the halacha? Says the Rambam. The Rambam says a person can show up many times to the Mikdash after he brought his first Olat Riyah and Korban Chagiga. He can keep showing up. He does not need to bring a korban. If he wants to bring a korban, it is accepted. So, like Reish Lakish here in the second version of the Machloket, like Reish Lakish, or like Rabbi Yochanan in the first version of the Machloket. And I said that is the halacha the Rambam brings. Just to finish up the sugya, Etivei, they were asking on Reish Lakish. You said you're allowed to bring even voluntary olat riyah, but it says in pasuk hakok raglecha hokar raglecha mibet re'echa. Stay away from Hashem's house. Don't bring korbanot. Oh, no. Hatam behatot v'hashamon. That has to do with sin and guilt offerings, right? That's what Hashem says, don't bring me. Let your foot be scarce in the house of Hashem. And it says in Tehillim, I bring olot, lo kasha. When it's hatot v'hashemot, Hashem says, I'd rather not get you, bring me korban hatot v'hashemot. Don't do the sins, don't bring the korban. But olot shamim, yeah, that you should bring. Taina me'achi. Hokor raglecha bet re'echa. Hatot v'hashemot, הכתוב מדבר. אתה אומר חטוא בשמות, או היינו, או בעולות ושמים. כשהוא אומר, אבוא ביתך בעולות אשלם לך נדרי, הביא עולות ושמים האמור. המה אני מקיים חוקר רגליך בית רעך, וחטאת והשמות, הכתוב מדבר. So חטאות והשמות, person doing sin, he has guilt. Hashem doesn't want those korbanot per se, so many. Don't make the mistake. But olat, the olot, and the olot, and the shlamim, that Hashem loves and that Hashem wants, and you're allowed to bring it more and more, even on a voluntary basis on the Chag, as we paskin la halacha. Okay, so this is where we will end this week's Yom, and Hashem, we will continue next time. Shavuot tov, lekor.